So, hello everybody. Hope you guys are doing well today. What I want to focus on is really a sharing of the journey that DBS is taking. I'm not sure, does everyone know what DBS stands for? No? I see a lot of people who probably didn't grow up here in Singapore. So DBS stands for Development Bank of Singapore. And we have been the Bank of Singapore for a long time. So the world is changing. I'm sure all of you know that, right? There have been many innovation conferences. I've been to Crowdsourcing week for the last 3 years, and I've learned a lot, through your conferences. Basically, if we look at how the world is changing, I was doing some research, and did you know that there are actually more cell phones than toothbrushes in this world now? Did you guys know that? Surprising, right? And more data has been generated in the year 2013, than all the years throughout history. There are several key trends that we feel is impacting the world, right? Data explosion, cloud computing, monetization of mobile, the Internet of Things. But closer to our hearts, it would be things like non-bank competitors, the emergence of the Asian economies, and the digital revolution. Now, what does this all mean to DBS? Before I go into that, I was watching some YouTube videos lately, and I came across a video by Vivek Ranadive. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's the CEO of TIBCO. And in it, he talked about the evolution of civilization. So Civilization 1.0 was the first age of mankind, where individuals were the main contributors of society. Then we went on to Civilization 2.0, which was about industrial revolution, the age of corporations, where humans were all about efficiency. Here we are now, Civilization 3.0. The emphasis seems to be going back to value creators. Everyone seems to be talking about innovation. It's like the buzzword of the century. And everybody wants to deliver extreme value to customers, right? Another thing that I got out of his talk was about this thing, the age of platforms. So then I started digging a bit deeper into this term, age of platforms, and found out that there was a guy, Phil Simons, that had written a book recently about the age of platforms. And in it, he talked about the Gang of Four. Amazon, Google, Facebook. So if you guys don't mind doing this experiment with me, and this is what he did during his talk, could all of you just stand up really quickly? Do you mind?
I did this yesterday.
Oh, you did this too? Was it the same thing?
No.
Oh, great. Okay, so how many of you use Apple products? Sit down, please. Yeah. How many of you use Apple products? Sit down, please. Oh my God, you guys don't? How many of you use Amazon? Or you have a Kindle reader, you've bought a Kindle ebook, you can sit down? How many of you use Facebook? You can sit down if you use Facebook. Thank God. Anyone else left standing? Well, I hope you use Google. Oh, great. We're covered. Thank God. So as you can tell, that's the power of platforms, right? Everyone uses it. But I added one in myself, which was Alibaba, because, being Chinese, I felt like I should add something from the Chinese side of things. So all these companies, what they have in common is that they're consumer technology related, right? People want to use it. You're not forced to use it. You just want to use it. Platforms, in general, don't guarantee success, but companies right now are embracing platform thinking, right? Another thing that's in common with all these companies are that they have more than one source of revenue. So what about banks? We cannot afford to be complacent. So a classic example is Kodak, right? All of you know Kodak. We cannot afford to be complacent. We don't want to be a Kodak, and we need to face up to the competition that's out there in order to survive. So what is DBS doing? So before I go into the how we're doing it and the what we're doing, let me share a bit about Piyush, our CEO. Piyush has started, he joined the bank in 2009. And before that, though, he had left Citibank and became an entrepreneur for a couple of years, started a dot-com company, but because of the dot-com crash, he went back to banking. That's when he joined DBS. And ever since he's joined DBS in 2009, we've had 19 consecutive good quarters, good earnings. We are at a market cap of 50 billion. And he's been nominated Best CEO. So what is it about Piyush? I believe that it's because he's been an entrepreneur. He's able to understand what it's like to take risks. He understands the importance of learning through failure and experimentation, which is why I think the bank is setting on a new path, a new growth trajectory. And there's this quote that he uses that I like a lot, is that his firm belief is that in the future, people won't need a bank. They need banking, but they don't need a bank. So here's the team, the DBS Innovation Group. It's a group of 8 people right now. It's a small group. We're very lean, and we behave very much like a startup. We've broken ourselves into 2 parts, the people that work on innovation management and the people that work on partnerships and culture. So I have 4 people working with me in my team. I'm responsible for partnerships and culture. What we're tasked to do is to make sure that we ignite possibilities, spark joy, create impact beyond banking, and to change lives. We believe that in order to change the bank, to reinvent banking, we have to start with culture and change people's mindsets. We need to get people into the culture of learning. I think, you remember I mentioned about Civilization 2.0, where everyone was busy running around, behaving like a factory. I think things have changed. So we need to stop behaving that way, especially for an organization like a bank. So here are a couple of initiatives that we have started working on since 2014. We've created a couple of these programs, which I will go into more detail, but just to give you a quick overview. Dragon's Den. We started Dragon's Den last year. Imaginarium, Digital Express, Hackathons, and most recently, we're embarking on creating a crowdsourcing platform for the entire bank. So let me talk a little bit about Dragon's Den. Dragon's Den was created because we felt that there were many people in the bank who didn't know how to innovate. There are a lot of ideas. Everyone's really good at ideating and coming up with brilliant ideas, but do people really know what to do with those ideas? So we felt that there was a need. There was an important, pressing need to help people be able to do that. So what did we do? We took human-centered design, and we adopted Luma. The approach is from Luma, which is basically a design thinking methodology. And we mashed it up together with lean startup methodology. So in the last 2 years, I've been going around facilitating sessions for the DBS employees, teaching them human-centered design and lean startup methodology. And the organization has also started developing a department, has come up with a department that focuses on agile. So it's a combination of all this that we hope to be able to uncover lots of customer insights, to be able to fulfill customer needs, and to create breakthrough products and services in the process. Most recently, we've been going around the region running hackathons as well. But it's not the usual type of hackathons you would think about. Everything that we do is grounded in HCD and Lean. So in the hackathons that we run, we bring the best of DBS, the top 6% talents in DBS, and we pair them up with startups. Because a lot of people in the bank don't know how to be nimble or agile or make decisions very quickly, right? So what we did was we mashed them up. We put them in a community of entrepreneurs to kind of shake things up a bit. And in the hackathons are all based on real business challenges. We have true business sponsors that come up with the problems that they're facing, and talents and startups would try to solve those issues using HCD and Lean in 48 hours. So we've run a couple of these since December last year. And we've created about 500 problem solvers. So we've put about 500 people throughout DBS through these hackathons. We've generated more than 50 prototypes and MVPs in the pipeline. So how do I click on the video? So I have a video here that I'd like to show you. It's about the latest hackathon that we did in Singapore. It was to a group of 200 people, and these guys were not the usual DBS employees. They were the SVPs and EDs.
I want our people to wake up to the new way that mankind lives, to what digital means. And you can't do that in classrooms. You can't put people in front of a blackboard and teach them what digital is all about. The only way you can do it is through experiential learning. Now this Megaton Hackathon is so exciting because it allows us to check many things in one go. It's a tremendous opportunity for us to get our best and brightest and give them a tremendously different exposure to the new digital world that is on us, which allows you to get startups, people who think differently, mix and match them with our people, and give them an opportunity to think in a different frame. Is just fantastic.
They were created to give people a sense of what it was like to work in an intense, rapid innovation environment, to come up with solutions in a very short period of time that would spark inspiration within the business to do something around those solutions.
We have 85 of our most senior people from all over the world involved in this, and 20 startup teams. There's about 150 people involved in this production, this event that's going on.
They're trying to do immersion into some customers' problems, build something and act and get something delivered within these 3 days. This is giving them a microcosm of the way they should be operating.
Because through the experiments that we run, there is no way they don't fail. They have to fail in order to succeed. So I think people are now less afraid of failure.
I would say the biggest thing is creative thinking and trying to incorporate elements of human-centered design. I think it's one thing to just kind of talk about it, but really kind of bringing in those principles and saying this is how you apply them to solve a problem. And I think it's stuff that they can take back and say, okay, we're not just going to solve it in a traditional corporate sense. Let's really understand who is the end user of this product or solution and how do we serve their need.
Critical point that I learned is to be thinking out of the box. Don't think about the boundaries first. There are a lot of possibilities. This will help me do my job better. It's going to change my work style, to change my attitude to my customers.
And that actually the tools are actually quite simple and straightforward for them to be able to use and take back to the workplace. So the hackathon has many different outputs. Clearly the idea is something that's of real value, but really the culture change is what's most important.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
So by the end of today, we'll have done 50 teams, 50 solutions, built 50 apps across the 4 different hackathons.
That's why we're running the hackathons. That's why we're having our mission of create joyful banking. It's to create the leadership environment where the whole organization is filled with leaders who have a common vision and purpose.
The winning team is Monopoly!
But perhaps in some ways the most important, to me, this notion of trying to change the culture of the company, of trying to create the confidence in ourselves to take some risks, to experiment a bit, to try a few things which are different, to have fun while you're doing it. That's the kind of company we're trying to build. And the Megathon is a fantastic tool to be able to bring that culture to life.
So I'm really proud to have been part of this journey in DBS. Trust me, every time I run a hackathon, I need to lie down for like 3 days and not move. And I'm getting old, so. But we've really seen a change in the way people behave after they leave the hackathon. Some of them have decided to quit their jobs to join the startups, which is great. But for the others who stay, right, we believe that they will be able to influence their own teams and their colleagues to thinking differently, behaving differently. And we're not just crowdsourcing for ideas here. We are crowdsourcing for real solutions that mean something to the customer. Just to touch on a few other initiatives really quickly. So this is what we're planning to roll out in the second half of the year, which is a platform that we are trying out, right? I think you guys are familiar with Spigot. I'm not sure, Spigot or Bright Idea. Well, it's an idea crowdsourcing platform. We hope to roll this out across the region to our employees so that there's transparency and there's the ability for people from different functions to come together to share ideas and talk about how to make things better for the banking community. In a nutshell, right, it's about getting people, whether it's internally or externally, to come work with us. We're building collaborative structures through the form of a crowdsourcing portal, an Imaginarium, which is a think tank network. We have Dragon's Den, Digital Express, hackathons that will help reinvent the way we come up with products and solutions. And we hope that it's not just through the internal community, but through partnerships with the startup community and institutions and the government and many, many other organizations like yourselves in order to help us achieve and to survive in this age of digitization. So I want to leave more time to be able to do some Q&A with you guys. So feel free to ask me questions, and I'll try to answer to the best of my knowledge. So
Great.
Is it okay to have them ask questions?
Yeah, I think we'll do like one or two questions. Do you have a type of list that you could show what you could do with the bank?
Sorry,
do you have a kind of list of projects?
List of projects?
Yes.
Or
type of projects. Huh?
Yeah, well, the reason why I didn't put up a lot of the details as to what we've created in the hackathons is because a lot of it is IP that I'm not supposed to share. But let me give you some examples of challenges that we've done and the type of applications that we've developed. So I think some of you know that Piyush has also embarked on a digital bank strategy. He's announced it in the papers. We are spending about $200 million investing in a new digital bank strategy in a different market like India and Indonesia, right? So what we've done is, so for some challenges that we've done for digital bank, it would be somewhere along the lines of how do we create meaningful banking-like services for the unbanked, right? Or something like how can we make banking a lot more exciting without building any branches. Okay, so those are challenges that we've done, and there have been, so during the hackathons, we have had teams coming up with ideas like, the Uber of household services, for example, right? Nothing to do with banking really, but it's embedding banking services, banking-like services, in an environment where people will feel comfortable, using. Whether it's payments or it's funding or loans, just in a different manner, right? We've also done more, quite boring, but we've also looked at things like, so how do we resolve the issue of queues in DBS branches? Okay, so in Singapore, I think it's a phenomenon that people love to queue in the DBS bank, right, in the branches. I don't think you see that anywhere else. And we have gone and investigated on why is the case. And just to show you an example of what we get through human-centered design learnings, right? So we interviewed hundreds of customers in the branches, and what the teams come back with was that for the elderly, they go there because they want to socialize. They want to chat with our tellers because they're so friendly. They find that it's a nice place. It's air conditioned. There are people smiling around, talking to them, so they enjoy going there. And part of our learning process, the teams have come up with different ways to try to work out that issue. So we're running experiments actually across the bank right now, trying to fix the problem of queues in the bank. One of the solutions that we came up with was perhaps, to create a cafe-like environment in community centers where the elderly like to mingle. Whether it's possible for us to actually perform banking transactions in those areas as opposed to having them walk all the way to the bank branch and clog up the branches. So is it okay?
So we've met before. Nice to see you again. We met at SBC FinTech Accelerator.
Yes, I remember.
So thanks for the great talk. What I want to know is sort of as somebody who is talking to DBS about potential partnerships, I'm the founder of a startup, so as someone who is talking to DBS about potential partnerships, what do you think for everybody who the question is probably on their mind, what do startups get out of working from DBS? I mean, is it support? Is it financial? Is it M&A? What is it? Because obviously banks and large corporations are notoriously bad at innovation. And so if they're looking to these startups for innovation, what are they putting back into the community apart from hackathons?
It's hard to tell, really. I mean, I don't have all the right answers for that because we're on this learning journey as well. We're actually making a lot of things up as we go along. We're really behaving like a startup, to be honest, and it's new territory. But what I can say is that through the hackathons that we run, we've seen that there are many businesses that are learning to partner with startups and are trying to work hand in hand with those startups to create solutions that work both for the bank and for the customer. Right? So we are investing in that partnership with startups by supporting their business. We're not planning on copying what they do, which is why, because we're not a technology company, right? So we're leveraging on each other's strengths to create better products and services. We are planning at this point in running an accelerator program along with IPL, which is Infocom Investments. And we hope to be able to support more of these startup entrepreneurs who want to work on fintech products and solutions. So we're still young. We're still early stage right now. And we're focusing a lot on trying to change the mindset and culture within the organization. Because if we are not able to change the way people behave within the organization, we'll never be able to take that leap. So I don't know if you feel that through hackathons, the startups benefit less than the people in DBS, but I think I've gotten a lot of feedback, and there have been actually blogs written by startups about the experience in the hackathon, and they do feel very happy that we are also teaching them human-centered design and lean startup methodology, because it's not actually a natural thing for companies in Singapore to practice HCD and lean.
Great. Cade. One last question.
Okay, quick question. I'm speaking from a total position of ignorance in terms of hackathons, but one of the criticisms I've heard or skepticism is you have a lot of ideas and it's fantastic atmosphere, but then afterwards, how do you sustain that? And I would expect that in a group like DBS, while you guys might be very innovative, how do you then get that into the rest of the organization?
Yes, it's true. I've not been to many hackathons, but I've been to a couple. And from what I've heard is that usually, they put people in a room, they give them a challenge, and then people just start hacking away and, doing their thing. But what we're trying to do here is to really force a scientific process of experimentation. So the reason why we use HCD and Lean is because through the scientific process of experimentation and through the commitment of the challenge sponsors, right, we try to shape the solutions to ensure that there is an outcome, right? We don't leave it to chance. We are actually holding your hand every step along the way to make sure that they are able to design something that's going to be usable or implementable in the near future. So it's very much we do a bit of hand-holding, and we expect the business sponsors to be very much involved, not just from a funding perspective, but in the perspective of being able to give them the opportunity to work on a proof of concept, for example. So if I'm not wrong, I've heard that we've got actually 2 solutions that came out of the hackathon that's going to be implemented in the business.
Great. Cade, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Very good from us.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.